Hello everyone, and welcome to PYO-USD for Truth. Today we're going to provide an update on our last video. Last Tuesday, Dr. Cherniss responded to our video through one of Leandra Blade's social media accounts to this captive audience, in which he addressed what he called the quote-unquote normal community members. So, if you don't follow Leandra on social media, welcome to the abnormals. It has a ring to it, no? In addition to calling us anonymous cowards, he listed some of his accomplishments, and then went on to explain the case between AYSO and PVP-USD. He stated that AYSO donated the $50,000 to the bond campaign since it included money for the new fields, which conflicts with Butler's court filings. He also noted that the attorney representing AYSO attempted to make the claim that $50,000 would compel the district to drop their litigation. And in or around November 2020, AYSO agreed to pay $230,000 in the case. We were unaware of this settlement because it was either confidential or done through mediation rather than the courts. The only reference we could find was from a Facebook post on the Restore PV education page from November 13th, 2020, as you can see here. Cherniss also emailed the board an image of an email he sent 3 days after the alleged agreement stated in Butler's lawsuit, which seems to have given Mr. Caceres the impression that the $50,000 was part of an agreement. He also provided some transcript pages in which he says Mr. Caceres gave a different account from what Butler stated in his case against PVP-USD and Cherniss. Cherniss signed off with, quote-unquote, the attached documents Mr. Caceres depot led to AYSO dropping your case and paying our district $230,000. Case closed, right? Well, yes and no. While this definitely ended the litigation between PVP-USD and AYSO, the litigation between Dr. Butler and PVP-USD and Dr. Cherniss continued to wind through the courts. How? We'll get to that shortly. Then on Friday at 10:30 a.m., we received an email with the subject line cease and desist from Dr. Cherniss addressed to both us and PYL Buzz Adney, with whom we have no affiliation, demanding we remove the video and PYL Buzz to remove their petition by noon, and accusing us both of slander and threatening us with legal action. PYL Buzz has received a second cease and desist since. He also attached the documents and email he sent to all board members. We at PYL-USD for Truth responded to him and the entire board that our video simply reposted statements of others in a publicly available court case, which we presented and summarized. Also, the fact that we don't think Dr. Cherniss is the right fit is a matter of opinion, not fact, which is neither slanderous nor libelous. We also explained that if Mr. Caceres lied for Butler or lied for Cherniss, then he had the credibility problem, not us. Dr. Cherniss also stated in his email that he never fired Dr. Butler and Butler's contract ran out. We never claimed Butler was fired. Dr. Butler stated in his suit that his contract was not renewed as retaliation for bringing his concerns to the board and making them public. In addition to this email, Dr. Cherniss, in his letter to the board, also mentioned that since he was, quote-unquote, someone with relatives who were killed in the Holocaust, I was taught as, quote, at a very young age. Here's the quote by Dietrich Bonhoeffer that he included. Silence in the face of evil is itself evil. God will not hold us guiltless. Not to speak is to speak. Not to act is to act. While we can only empathize with his having lost family members in the Holocaust, and may their memories be a blessing, we also think since he had family members perish in the Holocaust, he, more than most, should understand the impact that dehumanizing rhetoric and repeated lies have on individuals, communities, and entire societies. Shouldn't someone with an advanced degree from USC, home of the Steven Spielberg Shoah Foundation, and such a compelling family history, be keenly aware of what happens when those in power wield it to punch down on those they disagree with? For example,
what's going on within the group? I actually speak to teachers all the time that would not go on the record. They will not. They are terrified of what would happen to them if they actually came out and spoke out against the unions, because the unions are acting like a bunch of mafia members from New York back in the 1940s.
Or having someone who is on the superintendent's high school advisory board and on whose show Leandra Blades has appeared multiple times, saying things like this.
Later says she's proud of doing it. She writes, hateful preacher Jack Hibbs from Calvary Chapel brought Minor and Ledesma, who they were instrumental in getting recalled over at Orange Unified School District, up in front of his congregation, called the teachers' union demonic. True. Just for whatever reason, supporters of Carrie Buck, who knows why, Marilyn Anderson, same, and they've been involved in this somewhat of a cabal. I know I like using that word, but it is a group of organizations and people, which essentially is a cabal, and so that's what that hate comes from. This hate comes from those people who push these types of things. You got people that want a DEI and porn in libraries, which is very big. They like to.
As we stated in our response, it's one thing to disagree with views and policies, but dehumanization under the color of authority is a dangerous path to trod down. The Holocaust didn't start with tamps and gas chambers, but rather with words of denigration wielded by those who also held power. That's why we also responded to Dr. Cherniss demanding that he take a more public stance against those on the board and Remote's local allies who continue to demonize teachers in the district, although they are not the only ones being demonized. They'll say it's not teachers, but the union, a distinction with very little difference. And even if they want to criticize the union, shouldn't it be based on facts, not lies created on a loop? We explained that the way those in the aforementioned clips continue to repeat lies and weaponize language could result in serious consequences, which appear to be the goals of some on the board. So when people like Blades agree with a comparison of teachers and their union to the mafia, a group responsible for everything from drug trafficking to human trafficking to murder, and Falco equates them and board members he disagrees with to demons, a cabal, as well as repeatedly lies about everything from Principal Joey Gavis to enrollment to teachers wanting pornography in schools. Is Dr. Cherniss living up to the Bonhoeffer quote then? Is his silence not him speaking? Is his lack of action not an act itself? That's why we demanded he and others on the board to be the good people they claim they are and put a stop to the dehumanization. And here's one more quote for thought. Voltaire once wrote, "Those who can make you believe absurdities can make you commit atrocities." And if you're not sure if this rhetoric coming from the likes of Blades, where Cherniss decided to issue his response, and Falco has an impact, then feel free to listen to this speaker during the public comment section of the last school board meeting.
I appreciate all of your efforts to serve this district. There are so many of you who have done amazing jobs throughout your careers, and especially for my own children. Always adapting to the changes coming to you further upstream, things that aren't within your control. I truly appreciate all of you. However, your union is a mafia.
So, there are people in the community who already believe the absurdities. Should we not be concerned at possible atrocities? Should we have to wait until anyone in the district, teachers, administrators, board members, and even citizens who stand in opposition to the majority are harmed? If a person cannot answer that with an unequivocal no, then should he or she be in any position of leadership, especially ones that oversee the education of children? Oh, and back to the Butler case. Dr. Cherniss did not refute any of the claims regarding district money and resources to print the flyers, which could possibly have been an Ed Code violation. Also, if the case between AYSO and PPP-USD was settled in November of 2020, and Caceres was deposed in the Butler case of August 2021, then how did Butler's case continue? Wouldn't Butler's case, premised on the idea that there was some kind of off-the-books agreement, fall apart? Why was it scheduled to go to trial just last year, over 2 years after the AYSO-PBP-USD settlement? Why did PBP-USD settle with Butler at the 11th hour just before Dr. Cherniss left to be announced as superintendent here in PYL-USD just a short time later? And why was the board unaware of this case? We passed along Dr. Cherniss' statement to Dr. Butler. You can see his response here. Could it be because both the AYSO and PBP-USD knew that if the agreement did go through, it could have exposed them to more legal liability, as Dr. Butler suggests?